Hey guys, welcome back to the course. In the last video, we had work on integration of generate image API. As you can see that on the home screen, we had work on this generate image functionality, and now in this video, we are going to focus on start implementing the another API that is called Explore API, or basically a discover image API. So how does discover image looks like? So this is how one object look like. We have prompt, image URL, created it and updated it, and underscore ID. Like whenever we use it as generate image, we are inserting inside the discover image section as well, and we are just fetching that along with the paginations. Okay, so yeah, so in this video we are going to integrate this API. Okay, so how we gonna integrate this API? That's also a quick question. So basically, if we talk about that, we are going to implement this along with the pagination. Okay, so what is paginations? So whenever you go to the any e-commerce website, what does they do first? They will make the they will fetch the tens data, and once you scroll down to the bottom, they will fetch more data. So we are going to implement that functionality. Okay, so but there's one more thing which we gonna use in this lecture, that is called we gonna also store the data in the cache. So we are gonna use React Native tan stack query. So what does do if we talk about tan stack query? That's a very straightforward thing. So whenever let's suppose you fetch a data and the user come back again, so it will be fetched inside that. So in general data manner, we can say that it will keep the cache kind of. So whatever you make API call, that will keep the cache. Okay, so yeah, so we're gonna do that stuff, but let's implement this functionality quickly. So let's go to the source. I know like it doesn't make sense for now, so let's start implementing and let's understand that's how. So let's go to the home screen component. Like here you can see a tab screen, and we can have a discover screen. So let's go to the discover screen, and this is how discover screen looks like. And here we are having some dummy data, datas and so on. So first of all, what I'm going to do, I'm going to create one function here quickly, and which will gonna do const. This function will be const handle what we're gonna get. We're gonna call that handle fetch images. Okay, and this will be async function like this. Okay, and along with the arrow function, we're gonna have a try catch block. So let's have a try catch block, and after that we get the response. Const response is equal to await, and we're gonna use API, and API dot get request is gonna be a get request, and slash we had already inside the API we had already a base URL. So we just gonna copy this this discover image URL, this parameter. So let me copy this discover image endpoint quickly. So let's copy this, let's close, and let's paste it here. Okay, and this here in this parameter, what we gonna pass. So if you see that it's only need two parameters, like page and the limit. So how many page, what is the page and the limit? So the page we can pass it in the query parameters. So how we can pass in the query parameters? So we can have a like this params. Okay, inside this params, inside this params we can have, let me make it smaller, this one. Okay, and here we're gonna pass the page. So we're gonna have a one variable const page, and we can have a set page is equal to use state. Okay, we're gonna have a use state, and it will be by default the page number 1. Okay, let's make it simpler. Maybe I'm rushing it out, so let's make it simpler. I think that you're gonna understand me. So far I had created one state called page, set page state. So whatever the current page, by default the current page will be 1. After that, we had created one function called handle fetch image. Inside that, we are making API call to the discover image, and inside this params we are passing the page. Okay, and after that, what is next? We get the response. Okay, now once we get the response, we have to upload it. We have to update that as well. Okay, so for that we're gonna have a one state called const. We can have images, I think images, set images, and we can have a use state, and it's gonna be a array like this, and we can get rid of this this data for now. We don't need this data. we can, okay, let me show the data quickly. For now, I think you have already seen this data, right? So we can get rid of this data quickly. So let me remove this data. Okay, awesome. Now after this, once we get the data, here we get the response.data.images. So we're gonna set that set images is equal to what? Response.data.images. So if you see the postman, we are getting the response.data.images. Okay, this is how we pass these images. Okay, and if there is any error come up, so we're gonna use what? We're gonna use what is that? Alert. Okay, I forget that. What is that? So that is called, we can show toast Android. My bad, I always forget that. If there is an error come up, so we can show a toast Android dot show, and it will be a something went wrong, and we can show a time of toast Android dot sort time. Okay, now you can see that we had created this function handle fetch images, but we are not calling it here anywhere, right? So what we have to do, we have to call this function as well. So we can pass a use effect. Inside the use effect, we can call this function, and inside this we're gonna have a dependency array just like this. Copy this function name, paste it here like this. Okay, and after this, let's give it a try. Let's go to the discover screen. Okay, and we got error, data doesn't exist, because we are passing here data, and you can see that inside the flat list we are passing data. Let's replace with the images. After that, let's go to the here. So here we can't see anything, right? So let's maintain one state, loading state as well. Okay, now you can see that we are getting the data, this API data. Okay, so what we're gonna do, we're gonna have a maintain one loading state. That it means that our API is calling, like API is like fetching the data. So we can have a const loading and set loading, and by default user state will be false. Okay, and after that we can update this loading. So whenever we start making, we can update set loading as a true, and once we get the response, here we can get the response, we can make it false. So set loading as a false. Okay, same if there is any error come up, so we're gonna make it false. That's all. Okay, now after this, what we're gonna do, guys, so if there is loader, so we're gonna show a kind of loader as well, right? So for that, what we're gonna do, I'm gonna show one loader in the bottom. So inside the flat list, you can see that we are passing the data, images, and there's one more thing we have to pass. So here we can see that inside the key extract, like we have to make it item._id, because we are getting now _id. Okay, and after that, here you can see that we have to add a list footer component, and inside this, what we have to do, we have to make it like this. If its loading is a true, if what is that? Yeah, if its loading is true, so I'm gonna show one activity indicator, and we're gonna pass the size. The size will be what? The size will be large, and the color. So I'm gonna define any color. So I'm just making a kind of this color has 3 maybe a 3 BB and 2F6 a kind of black color. This kind of color, I'm not sure how it's gonna look like. And if there is loading is false, so we're gonna show a null kind of stuff. Okay, now let's go back to the discover screen. Now you can see this a perfect loader, and we can see the stuff. Okay, now after that, what we're gonna do, you can see that we are getting our data, right? But the next thing which we have to implement, that is called pagination stuff, right? You guys are also thinking, like, you have mentioned that Alishani, bro, you are going to implement the pagination, but you had not implemented. But before that, let me summarize this all the stuff whatever we had done so far, and after that we'll start implementing the pagination functionality. So first we go to the app.tsx. After that we went to the discover screen. Inside this discover screen, we define two variable, const page, set page. By default the page number 1, images, set images, and by default the user state will be an empty array, and loading state. And this is previously we had defined refresh state, like that is this one, pull to refresh functionality. You can see this is the stuff which we had implemented, so we're gonna also add that functionality later. And after that we are using use effect hook, and inside this use effect we are calling this function handle fetch images. Okay, and once we fetch the images, we are making API call, we are getting the response, and just updating to the state and rendering on the UI. And that's a crazy, right? And after that we are just pass these images, and we are initially it was also happening images, so it is already there, and we define an underscore id, and so vertical score indicator false, and here inside this footer component, if loading is true, then we are showing a one loader. That's all I think, right? Now let's go top, and the next thing which we gonna do, that is called pagination stuff, which we have to implement, right? So here you can see that there's one property on the flat list they provide, that is called on end reach. So if you see that on end reach, if the user reach on the bottom, so we're gonna make handle load more. Okay, handle load more, we're gonna create one function which will make a more API call, like handle load more images. So let me update the function name, handle load more images kind of. Okay, and copy this function name, and here we're gonna just add a function name, handle load more images, like this. Okay, and what is this function gonna do? Any idea, guys? What we're gonna do? We're gonna do a very straightforward thing, that is called we're gonna just increase the page number 1. So what we're gonna do is set page is equal to page plus 1. That's all. Page plus is equal to 1. That's all. Okay, set page is equal to page plus 1. Whatever the last page, we're just incrementing that all the page. And once we get, so whenever we update the state, so you can see the set page plus 1, and yeah, after this, whenever we update the page, we have to recall this function. Okay, we have to pass this. So whenever we update this function, so it's gonna make another API call and fetch the data. Exactly, right? Now the next thing which we're gonna do, that once we get the data, okay, so here if you see this, let me show you. Let's go to the discover screen. Now you can see the next API call is happening, and when we went to the bottom, what do you see? The whole data get lost. That's crazy, right? Because in the next API call, in the page number 2, we update the page number 2, and in the page number 2 we don't have any data, right? And that's why it's like, it's not working that way. It's not working in a perfect way. So what we're gonna do, that if the user is on the page number 1, so what we have to do, and if user is not on the page number 1, what we have to do, so we're gonna write here that if user is on the page number 1, if user is equal to page number 1, then we have to just do it like this. Okay, like just set this data, whatever the data is coming. And if user is not on the page number 1, if user is page number 2, then what we have to do, we have to do like this, set images is equal to what, we have to get the previous image, like this, previous images. Okay, and after that, once we get the previous images, we have to split the old images, like this, previous images. Okay, and after that we have to split this new images, response dot my bad, split the new images, response dot data dot images, like this. So what we are doing here, we are just splitting out the new images, just like this. So whatever the old image, we are adding the old image, and after that we are splitting the new images. That's all. Okay, now if I reload this page, so let me type reload, and now you can see that it will work awesome. So let's click on discover screen. Now the first API call is happening, it's fetched the data, and now if you scroll down, so there is no more data. Okay, and that's why it's stop scrolling. Okay, that's all I think. Now the next thing which we're gonna do, that if user, like, if we scroll to the bottom, it's still make another API call, which is not a good thing. Like if there is no data, don't make a new API call. Exactly. So what we're gonna do, that so here on handle load more images, what we're gonna do, we're gonna make up one variable, that does this has more images or not. Okay, so we're gonna create one variable that is called has next page or not. So we're gonna have one variable state here after that, and const has next page. Okay, and we're gonna have call this set has next page. Okay, and we're gonna have a one use state. By default it will be a true, like this has next page. Okay, and after this, what we're gonna do, we're gonna just check that if data.total page, if the current page, okay, so if you see on the Postman, guys, so we are getting the total page, right? So what we have to do, if total page is good, okay, so what we have to do, let me show you. So here you can see that we are getting the response exactly, and after that we have adding some logic to update the image, and here we're gonna have like this const set, okay, set has a next page will be like this. How? So we're gonna set that if response dot data dot total page, response dot total page, if total pages is greater than the current page, response dot total pages is greater than the response dot data dot what current page. Okay, so what we are telling that if response dot total page is greater than response dot current page, so it means that we have more data, so it will be a true, else it will be a false. Okay, that's all. Okay, so we're gonna have a one we state that will be much more clear is the next page kind of, and we're gonna copy this variable state like this. Let's copy this, let's cut it from here, and let me explain you once more what I'm trying to tell you guys is the next page. Okay, so if I try to summarize this, what I'm trying to tell you guys, so whenever we hit API call, so we are getting the images, and also how many pages that this exist, like exactly. So we are getting the total pages is like almost 1, and the current page is 1. Okay, so if it's already we are on the same page, so it means there is no data, right? It means that your user can't go to the next page. Okay, this is all only the this data exists. Okay, so that's why we are making this set has next pages are false. So we are telling that if it's true, like if it's greater than this, then it's true, otherwise it's false. So if as next page is false, then you don't have to increment a page. So if has next page is true, then only you have to increment this page, otherwise you don't have to increment this page. That's all. Got it? Now let me summarize it once more. I think this makes sense, right? So for that, what we're gonna do, like currently we are having some images, like almost maybe how many images do we have? Not sure. One, like we have almost 2 3 4 images, 2 3 4 5 6 images. All right, and this is how, like if users scroll down, so we can see that like it's not making any other API call. Okay, so yeah. Now the next thing which we're going to talk about, that is called this refresh controller. Like when the user go back and user click on this, like user pull the refresh controller, so we're going to make another API call like that will fetch the latest data kind of, so that we also implement that quickly. So whenever the user refresh the data, so what we're gonna do, we're gonna make that set refreshing as a true. So you can see that set refreshing a variable there, so we're gonna make this set refreshing as a true. Okay, and after that what we're gonna do next, we're gonna make that, we're gonna just whenever user pull that, so we're gonna make the set page as a 0, not 0, we're gonna update the set page as a 1, and after that we're gonna make the set refreshing as a false. That's all. So whenever we update the page as a 1, so it will make another API call, and that will pull the refresh the data. So let me show you guys. So let's go here. Okay, and now you can see that this data is loading, and now if I click on this, so you can see that it's the same data exists. That's all. Okay, so yeah, I think that's all in this video guys, in the discover image functionality. I think it's really straightforward pagination. So if you wanted to use a React and stack query, which I mentioned, but I think that will increase the complexity for now, so I will be leaving it for now. We can add this later, but yeah, let me summarize this whole stuff again. So you can see that we have discover screen, and let's go to the discover screen. Inside this discover screen, we had created this page state, images state, and has next page, and loading state, and refreshing state. Inside this use effect hook, we are passing a page number, and we are calling a function called handle page images. And whenever we update the state, like whenever we update the page, we are triggering this function. Okay, and here we get the latest page. After that, we are checking that if user is on the page number 1, then what you have to do, you don't have to if user has on the page number 1, then just update the state. If user is like on the page number 2, then spread the previous image and spread the next image. Like you have to maintain the state both one. Okay, and after that we are checking that does this user has more pages or not, like has more data or not. So for that we are having a is next page state, and we are just updating that and set loading as a false. Okay, so yeah, and after that in the bottom handle load more images, so we are just updating set page as a page +1 and so on. And the next thing, we are just rendering the data here. We had added the list footer component, which is like responsible for the loading stuff. So yeah, that's all in this video, guys. So in this video we had integrated the discover image API along with the pagination API along with the paginations and refresh control. Okay, so yeah, if you guys facing any issue, let me know. This is one of the most crucial part people can ask in the interview, and you gonna use in your real world project, like any project. Pagination is one of the most crucial stuff. Also, if you guys new to, please visit zerodecoder.in. Here you can find up great courses for your learning and for your certification or for your college. So please visit Zero Decoder and buy some courses for you and to support me. Okay, so yeah, that's all in this video, guys. Let me know if you have any questions. So in the next video we're gonna start working on this like image functionality, I think. So yeah, let's see that, and let me know, guys, if you have any question. Thank you. Bye.